I was a marketing executive in my 30s. I considered myself, at that time, pretty successful in my career. I was on track to take on much bigger responsibilities in the future, like perhaps being the CEO of a company. But just a few years later, I found myself pastoring a church and serving in a Christian organization. What happened, you might ask? Well, I went through a crisis period, which many people today would call a midlife crisis. I burned out from my job more than once. My relationship with my family was not going very well. I was an absentee husband and father due to my busy schedule. I was also a bivocational pastor during that time, pastoring a church on weekends and keeping a day job on weekdays. And I could sense a tug in my heart to take on a bigger role in taking care of God's flock. All these things had been developing for some years, but I did not see any reason why I should make a major shift in career or vocation. Well, not until I went through that major crisis. Crises and major trials have a way of stopping us in our tracks, to make a pause from our busy lives, giving us the space to review our lives and rethink our direction and change our priorities. The Apostle Paul himself was one person who went through a major shift in priorities. Earlier in his life, he went by the name of Saul, and he was a devout Jew and an enemy of Christians. And then he encountered something out of the ordinary and brought him to a crisis of faith. We find this in the book of Acts. Now, as he went on his way, he approached Damascus, and suddenly a light from heaven shone around him. And falling to the ground, he heard a voice saying to him, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And he said, "Who are you, Lord?" And he said, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. But rise and enter the city, and you will be told what you are to do." When Jesus revealed himself to Saul, Saul was plunged into a crisis. All his life, he was taught to be a faithful Jew, and his faith required him to fight the growing number of followers of Jesus. But now he realized that the one he was waiting for, as a Jew, the Messiah that the prophets had promised in Scripture, had come. And it was indeed Jesus Christ. He could either stay in his traditional belief, or he could embrace this strange new faith in Jesus. We know what happened after that. He embraced the new faith and eventually became the greatest missionary of his time. This can happen to us as well. Crises allow us to reevaluate our personal plans and careers. And sometimes we may have to make some serious changes. Marital issues may tell us we need to slow down on our fast-track career plans. Behavioral problems of our kids may tell us to spend less time on overtime work and give more time for our children. A major health issue linked to stress, like high blood pressure, insomnia, a heart attack, an organ failure, or perhaps an early diagnosis of cancer, may tell us to change our lifestyles. Mental illness like depression, they tell us that we need to be more in touch with our inner lives, and that we may need to reach out to other people who may be able to help us. And just like Paul, a crisis of faith may cause us to change our priorities and begin to serve God. Just remember, as trials come into our lives, and as they allow us to rethink and reshape our priorities, keep in mind, faith matters too.